here. So let us do it. Kongdoo Monster on the blue side.
It's amusing because both these teams have beat MVP. You remove that, their only match wins are upsets. SK Telecom for the side of Jin Air, and then for Kongdoo Monster, the win over KSV. So pretty similar stories for both teams, and it adds to the story of where is the balance level at? Who is the strongest favorite coming into this? Because it is a very close one. We also said that pick and ban against Kongdoo Monster is a fun one to track. They showed us the bouncy castle knock-up strategy that did so well against KSV, and Galio priority as well up, and Jin Air wants to stay on the ground at all times. The bouncy castle is closed.
Yeah, as I said before, you got to target out the bouncy castle, but also raise with the Jarvan. You see that the Kog'Maw is being taken away from Teddy, but not much else, so he will have some options here as we do go
was
in.
banned against him last time out.
True.
Cool to see him back on that patch 8.1. No nerfs. As more Oceanic fans hear that. Oceanic Kongdoo Monster fans. That's probably a pretty select group.
Yeah.
But appreciate that they have you out here.
She wants to see Soul's Ezreal. Definitely a chance here.
And what did we say? What did we say, Valdez? We said Raze has played 2 champs. Now he's got none. There's no champs left. Banned out both the Zac and the Jarvan. So, again, all the knockups are targeted. It does mean a lot is left open, though. And Kongdoo Monster, look at what's available. No Sejuani because of their ban. Will take the Rise at first pick. But that means Teddy has the choice of Ezreal or Kalista. After that Ezreal performance where he had 6 items pre-30 minutes, you'd understand if he went the way of the Ezreal, but he'll actually be preferring Kalista this time out.
Very interesting. We'll see if they decide to build a comp around that. Umti flashing us the Lee Sin. Perhaps wants an MVP performance tonight, but we'll be looking towards a different champion for that, it looks like. Now hovering the Kha'Zix here.
Umti's all about the aggression, whether he's playing Sejuani or Kha'Zix, wants to invade, wants to contest. We'll stick with the Kha'Zix that lost last time out, but otherwise had been very impressive. So for his mindset, this is saying, all right, Raze, you're off your comfort, and you know what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to find you and try to battle ward or kill you. So in this case, I like it from Jin. It's very heads-up play. Wonder if Kongdoo Monster might hide their jungler for a bit longer.
I mean, they're getting some other really good picks for their other players. You talk about the point of Raze, but look at this. Soul gets his Ezreal. Secret gets his Alistar. Rise for Edge. Rise right now, one of the top picks in the mid lane, if not the top pick behind Azir, and he's just going to pick it up.
The win rates are also there for those 2 picks, for Raze and Edge. 3-0 Ezreal, 4-0 Alistar, so a lot of comfort there. That round is Orin is going to be locked here. Could be for So1 or Wraith. Wraith is known for his creative support picks. Braum will have to be a ban kind of wherever you go. Usually, the Braum is going to be banned. But because Alistar's already there, I guess they're confident enough that there will be no Braum. And from there, it is a lot of safety for the Orin, and it very well could be support Orin.
Yeah, might raise some questions here for Kongdoo as we enter ban phase number 2. We'll see the Jax ban come out right off the start here for Jin Air.
We're getting harsh now. A lot of junglers banned away in this series. 1 by the side of Kongdoo Monster, 3 on the side of Jin Air, trying to get Raze as much off comfort as possible. If the name Raze is familiar to you and you watch EULCS, was previously a support for Rockat. So him role swapping to the jungle is certainly going to hurt his champion pool chances, because he is much newer to the role. That's why the targeting might be good as Gank Morocco. Got a very international, cosmopolitan. We got a very cosmopolitan crowd here today, Valdez.
It said "Carry me, teacher." Carry me, Sun Sing Nim on the left side. Not sure who that was referring to. Yeah, nice to have fans that are very passionate coming out of the studio, rating all the signs.
Kongdoo Monster certainly skeptical that this will be a support Orin. Already banning further top laners, expecting there to be some lane focus by So1, who played very well on Camille, even in the 2-0 loss to BBQ. Final ban going to be the Tom Kent, so splitting the difference between the 2. Kongdoo Monster has shown nothing about what their comp will be. They've got very flexible champions so far, especially in Rise and Ezreal, the 2 carries that they've locked in. Outside chance it might even be a top Rise if the Vladimir shows up. But even though we've liked Rise into Zoe, maybe we'll see Grace take a visit on what is currently the flavor of the month mid laner here in the LCK.
Yeah, I do like it. We'll see how he does up against that Ryze, as you were saying, but they're going to take that and leave the mystery for the last pick. Will it be the support Ornn or the counter pick up in the top lane? It's looking a lot more like that second option for the moment, but they do have the flexibility themselves, at least in that pick. Let's see what Kongdoo Monster wants to do. We are going to see Raised on Shyvana in the jungle here.
Interesting. So going to be going for a farming jungler. This will take away his early playmaking ability unless he can really show up in lane at melee range and pay off the CC from Ryze and Alistar. Very different style from Ryze, who has tried to be very gank-centric so far in his play. Final lock-in for Secret. Needs a safe blind pick top laner. We'll just go for the Gnar. So, yeah, always known for his lane priority. Will we see Someone just jump onto Jace? Because the Jace does stick out as the counter pick into Gnar that's available.
And it is Sowan, a guy who likes to get aggressive up in the top lane. Kind of leaves the only tank on the team to Ornn at that case. And it looks like they are going to flex the Ornn up into the top lane and pick the Taric for the support role.
The reason why we say that is, like you say, Valdez, the problem is that if you don't hit your spikes, if you don't get your timings, if the snowball doesn't start against a Shyvana comp with only one frontliner, chances of winning are very low, given that they have Kha'Zix's jungle much earlier in the rotation. So, good heads-up decision there. Going to be going for a bit more balance, but still, teamfight God comp from Kongdoo Monster. You still feel like this comp from Jin Air will fall off to a point. Can they play off now? They have stronger lanes for Umti to gank than previously after deciding not to go for a top lane carry. Kongdoo Monster, even with the heavy jungle attention, still have been able to piece together something impressive.
This will be a very nice game for Kongdoo Monster to prove to a lot of people that they're not just like one tricks, they're not just here for a couple of days and then other days they don't show up, because lots of different picks for these people, these players rather, I should call them. And they're playing up against a very strong team, a team that plays a lot like KSV, a team that they showed they have the potential to beat, but different kind of composition, as you were mentioning before, especially for Raze. I'm very curious how he's going to do on the Shyvana.
We'll need a bit of help in the teamfight phase, because initiation at a premium on the side of Kongdoo Monster. Realm Warp into the backline and Shyvana ult maybe, and Gnar teleport flank. Alistar can do some decent things, but very committal engage from the side of Kongdoo Monster. Then on the side of Jin Air, they are the ones that have the Ornn, so we know all about the initiation there. You always wonder about Kha'Zix, been a true double-edged sword so far, but I feel like with Raze off comfort, you can expect that Umti's game plan for this game is to get there, make the Shyvana as accountable as possible.
If you want a guy on an aggressive jungler, it will be Umti for the team of Jin Air. Let's see how it goes in game number 1. Here we go, match number 22, game number 1. We had a short one in the beginning with KSV versus MVP. Went exactly as we thought it would go. Had a under 30-minute game once again. And now this should be the longer series. We were expecting 3 games and longer games, especially with Jin Air on the Rift.
Quite a lot of surprises in this draft. Some of it forced, like Raze being forced onto the Shyvana with all of his comfort band away. Should note that Zoe was available and not picked by Kongdoo Monster. They went for Ryze. Went for the Korean tier list pick, as Ryze has been #1 mid laner here so far in LCK 2018 for his flexibility to play the side lanes. We've seen Edge on the Zoe, now against the Zoe, so given how well he played it, I'm excited to see how he takes the matchup.
And we've seen before, Ryze is pretty good against Zoe, so if he knows the matchup and he's good at Ryze, which no doubt he is, every mid laner currently in LCK should know how to play a good Ryze, otherwise, you know, what are you really doing? Excited to see how he does here up against the Zoe.
Definitely knows the limits of the other side of the matchup, but we're ready to be convinced that he knows the Ryze side. It was a big Ryze player in previous seasons, so like you say, no surprise there in terms of champion. In the history, this is back in spring, very even between these two teams. Shouldn't be a big surprise. Jin Air had a lot of struggle in spring season, and Even started summer season up and down, so nothing separating Kongdoo and Jin Air.
About to hit level 2 here is the Jin Air bottom lane. Really pressuring in, as we will see most of the time. So far, nothing really to note. It's very early on in the game here.
Yeah, most interesting thing was that at level 1, Solar and Secret took the very long way to lane.
Yeah.
Teddy and Wraith were looking for a cheese gank, expecting a red start for the Shyvana, which is very much the standard, but smart of them to take the long route through, and Shyvana power farming, as you'd expect. No interest in ganking anything other than the Scuttle Crab pre-6.
We're taking a look at some of the runes here that we do get. Everything looks kind of interesting that Teddy takes the unsealed spellbook. We've been seeing a lot of lethal tempo out of Kallistas.
It's the first time we've seen spellbook on the Kallista. Like you say, lethal tempo and previously fleet footwork were the big favorites onto Kallista, but it's very much about back timing and potentially some global impact to a summoner like this. Another game where we could see 4 people teleporting in to help out the Kazakhs. Yeah. 3, I should say, as Wraith as the Guardian.
It's unfortunate that Wraith didn't take it. They could teleport in together and Fate's Call combo. Something we've definitely never seen before at the professional level.
You definitely make me wonder about Fate's Call and TP timings, but we were over there. Some nice accuracy from Grace. One we want to watch. The one who feels like he unlocks this game is Umti on the Kazakhs. Lots of aggressive options available for Umti. For now, it's just been power clearing. Tracker's Knife for both junglers. Expectation is that we will see Kazakhs try to tussle. When it came to lanes, he didn't necessarily have pushing lanes in the early game. Ornn can go even with the Gnar and Zoe and Ryze. Usually Ryze can control that lane. Let's get to look at these Shyvana runes. Nothing too surprising there. Press the attack, we've talked a couple of times about, but because Shyvana's not that common, her ability to instant proc it with auto Q and then use her damage rotation is the reason why it's one of the few champions we see on the Rifts. Just Jack's jungle and Shyvana jungle that use press the attack. Everyone else has a keystone rune that fits them better.
Nice little combo here for Edge. Grace missing his trouble bubble means that he'll have some luck here. But yeah, nothing else really surprising. Of course, a stopwatch for Raze. I'm sure we all could have predicted that. We'll see if MT ever really gets too aggressive onto Raze. We haven't really seen him enter the opponent's jungle just yet.
I'm looking at the sorceries and wondering how many storms we have gathering. There's a little headbutt pulverize.
Nice blocking here from Wraith. Actually gonna land that dazzle now into Secret. Might be able to get this kill here. He's gonna be jumping forward. Even the exhaust coming out. They do force the flash out of Alistar. Secret getting a little bit too far up in that lane.
Yeah, pretty big laning mistake there from Secret. So the same thing from MVP, dying 2v2. That was Teddy on the Ezreal that time. Time on the Kallista. Bit of a misjudgment. That was all started by Secret. He didn't need to go in for the headbutt pulverize, but only had a one-way plan and ended up very punished, all things considered.
Sol now kind of just sitting there Q farming in his lane. Can't really get up there without the help of his support. Doesn't have flash. Sol also doesn't have his heal now. So kind of an awkward spot for them.
Means Teddy will have run of the lane. Let him to get into a pretty decent CS lead. I haven't seen a lot of stopwatch on Kallista, but we get it this time because of the heavy inspiration tree.
3 stopwatches for Jin Air. Looks like 2 on the side of Kongdoo. Got fleet footwork on Roach. Means that he's going to be focusing a lot on auto-attacking down the Ornn rather than taking the Airy, which we do see from time to time on the Gnar. Very popular.
Yeah, both of them for lane control, but I would say fleet footwork is a bit more versatile than the Airy. That makes a lot of sense in some matchups. But against Ornn, who just has so many different ways to dodge damage, whether it's less recall timings or incremental magic resist and armor, or even just the unstoppable blocking damage most of the time, Summoner Airy gets pretty little value unless you're super, super aggressive in lane. As that was a aggressive jump into the pit, but he wanted to avoid vision there, did Raze.
Yeah. No wards down here. This is a very common thing for Shyvana to do. I mean, he didn't even check if there was vision.
Nope.
But luckily, there is none, and he will be able to get this. Shyvana can take down the dragon very easily. Not even going to smite it. Just takes it down just like that.
He did have one very important piece of information, which was the information from his bot lane that Teddy and Wraith had just recalled. So no ability for them to contest. So given that Ryze had lane control, at least was cheating towards the right side of the mid lane and also enemy bot lane recalled. You know, there was quite a lot of safety there. Ray's looking for the solo queue special of turn that into a second objective. It's going to be a trade of blue buffs.
Yeah. They trade the blue buffs, and Wraith is even going to lose a control ward as Raze just picks that up. Handing over the blue buff to the mid laners of each team. Yeah, I would have to say that Raze is sitting pretty. He's had no disruption from Umti in his own jungle. He's been able to get this dragon very early. Oh, that does a lot of damage.
Yep.
Now they're just vertically jungling, trading jungles here. And, I mean, the Shyvana that farms up is always going to be a happy Shyvana.
And the vertical jungling gives the Auron the ability to push in freely and get a control ward down, but no more. Whereas you look at the bottom side of the map, Drake's already down, so no objectives to fight for on either side to make the vertical jungle a little bit more irrelevant than he usually is. When it comes to advanced vision, they also have traded pretty evenly, so you said strap in for a long game, Valdez. Nothing about the early game necessarily disagrees with that until we actually see So1 looking for a bit of proxying.
Yeah, you had Umti there to help him out, and fortunately for them, if Roach had hit that cannon, they wouldn't have denied it. So far, Kongdoo is playing nice, safe game. They're holding on for that late game where they want to scale to. Let's see if we have any big engages now as the Dazzle is down. We'll land a couple of Alistar stuns in there, but you know, you never really want to let Teddy go free. We're going to have Fate's Call come out here. And the Arcane Shift, they just want to push them out of lane as much as possible. None of the junglers are nearby. They're not trying to kill them. They just want to get them as low as possible.
Yeah, timing's a bit random. I love that you include the point of the jungle position, because I was like, okay, where's the jungler at? Is he starting to invade? What's he doing? Umti had actually recalled, so that was kind of like when you, as a Thresh support, throw out a lantern when no one's around to pick it up. It's just a bit of mind games here from Teddy and Wraith on the bot side. Doesn't actually gain them something, but it does put a lot of questions into the head of Kongdoo Monster.
Yeah, probably the biggest question is, what the hell was that? Why are you attacking me?
Well, they've got incomplete information as well as Shyvana.
Okay, getting a bit of damage down, but again, this is Kha'Zix with his ultimate up, so he will have some incredible mobility.
Wonder how much scrim time Raze has on Shyvana, just because damage calculations are different. His face check.
He just face checks that. He's going to force the flash out here. We got a Realm Warp. Thinking about going on in there, but Edge now gonna have a bit of trouble here.
That was a lot of damage.
Raze. Good guy Raze going to block that Paddle Star.
And I always think about newer junglers when they jump onto Shyvana. We've seen Wolf, and now we see Raze. Players with, 10 to 15 games of jungle experience at most at the highest level. Because solo queue, it's going to be Skirmisher Saber every time. Are their damage calculations going to be as accurate when Tracker's Knife is a requirement in pro play? Almost didn't matter as Umti almost disappeared to a single rotation with the Q.
He's got to be really careful about just face checking. We've seen him do that before. We talk about Umti's a really fantastic aggressive jungler, but it's kind of like, I don't know, it's like budget Peanut, where Peanut doesn't really get caught that often, but Umti does from time to time. But similar styles in that fact. They both like to play Kha'Zix a lot.
Definitely take his inspiration from Peanut, I would agree on that. But now at least, been well held in the early game here. We never really talked about him looking for any sort of skirmish in the early game when Shyvana is most vulnerable. And she took the first strike of the game, which says that she's been able to actually be, a camp and a half ahead and also a Drake ahead. Vantage Raze for the first 12 minutes of the game, certainly in the jungle battle.
Yeah, you'll notice that Jin Air has a slight gold lead. most of that is just in the small CS leads that they have in top, mid, and bot every lane.
Basically happens every time you see a Shyvana jungle, is that it's the one jungler, even in competitive play, where people say they're not coming to my lane, and if they are, the threat is going to be lower. So with that being said, as you say, incremental leads everywhere. The game goes on.
You got a bit of a gank here. Edge in a bit of trouble, but again, he is Rise. That is the shortest Realm Warp of all time. He gets almost hit by the Sleepy Trouble Bubble. Not sure about that Realm Warp, Papa.
I mean, it's level 1 still, so it is very, very short. But like you say, was enough to get him out of safety in the end. Raze continues to counter jungle, continues to make umpty, and then look at this.
Spotted him.
Burnout still on cooldown, so didn't have a full rotation available.
Got a TP coming through. They know he doesn't have a splash, but again, it's Kha'Zix. Secret now coming in. They're going to steal the blue again. Away from the Zoe. We'll see if they can actually do it. Forces the smite away from Raze. It's very fast, and you'll notice that Jin Air are just going to let this one go.
Yeah, contest from them is a full commitment, and when they fully commit, when the leap is used by Umti, the Fate's Call by Wraith, they don't really have a reset button. I don't think that Cosmic Radiance is usually a teamfight reset. Does mean they've given up a lot of control over their blue side jungle and the Drake. Kongdoo looking for a second one here.
Rise pushing it in is really going to help out Kongdoo for this fight. Should be 4v3 for the beginning. It's going to be down to the steal if he wants it. Not even going to go for it. Secret taking a little bit of damage. Double TP's coming in. Wraith getting a little bit caught here. Sleepy Trouble Bubble now onto the Rise. Roach a bit out of position though. Let's see if they can actually disengage, or an ultimate coming on through. That's going to knock them 4 in a row. There's the combination that they get. Secret not going to be able to follow up there. That's going to be first blood. Going over to Wraith on the Taric, and they want more. Zoe going to pick up another kill on the back foot as Kongdoo Monster gets completely routed from here on out. Sol, though, trying to do a little bit of damage in the back. Double kill over to Grace. He lands another triple bubble, and it's a triple kill. An ace for Jin Air GreenWings at 14 minutes into the game.
It was such a 50-50 looking Drake. The steal wasn't even attempted by Umti, but a clean ace at 14.5 minutes never happens. Grace was a monster in this fight with his accuracy, very Edge-esque in how aggressive he was, not just sitting back and poking, actually using your spell, weaving in your spells during this. Only level 11, so doesn't have the cooldown reduction or the AP you might expect. At the start here, first teleport is the Gnar with a pretty decent rage bar, and you think, what does it mean here? Will we see the Wombo? They turn onto Roach, but Edge and Roach both having ideas of how to start the fight. Someone just turns around, huge knock up there. The Wombo also with the Fate's Call to die, and as it goes on, it's just free hitting us, front to back team fighting. Grace the true star.
You're not getting away from a Zoe when you burn this many flashes, that's for sure.
And she had teamfight mobility for days. She also had insane accuracy. First onto Roach, holds the trouble bubble. Only a level 11, doesn't matter, such as Zoe. Wow.
Yeah. Wow is the best way to describe it. I mean, Edge, he can handle the Zoe in lane, but if you force a team fight like that, they wanted to leave. It seemed they had taken so much chip damage, but then once the Ornn ultimate came in, they kind of knew they were screwed. And once you get 4 knockups like that, well, you're just going to try to run away and try to lose as little as possible. So a pretty massive team fight for Jin Air as they get a nice little gold lead off the back of that. 3.5K. Math is hard.
Yeah, they have a lot of good teamfight options to Kongdoo Monster, but could never use their buttons at the same time. Everyone had an agenda, which was trying to be exploited. Raze able to walk away. There's Sowan and Grace both moved their spells. Doesn't matter how strong your comp is when they just weren't, you know, shot calling seemed really all at sea in that fight for Kongdoo Monster, and that's why they find themselves in a huge disadvantage.
Umpty wants to come from behind. They land the dazzle, and that's going to be enough to take out Sol here. Teddy going to get that last kill. Now Grace is going to follow up, clear the waves. It's only an Alistair. Poor little cow is going to go down. Double kill goes over to Teddy. This game is getting way out of hand very fast.
Again, almost out of nowhere. The map movement really good from Jin Air there. Even Grace responding first. Edge in the mid lane with summoners up, found no ability to enter. That's going to be ganked.
Okay, he is going to miss the trouble bubble, so Edge not forced to use any combination of spells to get out of that one. He's gonna hit this one though, and you know what that means. Even with the flash, if you can get some vision, he misses it by just a millimeter. Grace, he was looking good, but that one was really close.
Yeah, that one was just a range issue. Didn't have his own flash to extend the range like Teddy was the victim of before. Gonna see a replay here. Look at Zoe walking over control wards, roaming early. The roam timing is great. They have the Cosmic Radiance for a free turret dive, and Teddy still had stopwatch. They never lose their cool. Rise doesn't get the call to come. Doesn't call the roam either. Very nice map movement from Jinair. Making the Kha'Zix work, making us a believer. And after the first 10 minutes had been, nothing doing, it felt like outscale Shyvana was going to be our big point about this game. You're looking now at the jungle proximity. More time spent around lanes, but that first minute 20 or so meant nothing. The most recent jungle proximity, the most recent lane assignment, ever since they have gotten Teddy and Wraith out of lane, only good news stories for Jinair GreenWings.
Yeah, they're beginning to run away with this one at just, 12, 14 minutes into the game. You get an ace. You got to be feeling pretty good. 3-0-3 on the Zoe at this moment in time. It's got 2.5 items finished up. Now they're just going to go for a cheeky little Rift Herald, because why not?
Yeah, with the tier on turret, they take no damage from this, so happy to just rush it down, like you say. Ornn in the bot lane assignment, good from Jinair GreenWings. They've lost the vision they pushed in, but they have picked up the Rift Herald. Teddy looking nice and happy, 2-0-4 so far this game. 2 items very early as well. Ninja Tabi has the Relic Shield already. Still patch 8.1, guys, so still going to be that Quest Shield and 2 items. So super combat ready now. Basically any 5v5 is a mistake from Kongdoo Monster, and that means they have to deal with things like Zoe poking under turrets, so the other options aren't so attractive either.
Wow. Okay, well, we have the Rift Herald coming on in. They're saying we just want to get this turret as fast as possible, even
and they
with
will.
the TP coming in.
Denying the Drake stacking is really all Jinair have to do to fully cement their foothold in this game. 2 already to Kongdoo Monster, but control ward in the pit. 2 items on Kalista, Ren secure and a Kha'Zix. Kongdoo Monster say, well, it's not an objective for us.
Yeah, just a Cloud Drake, but, you gotta take what you can get. They got some other objectives, top tier 1, mid, and bottom tier 1, as well as both the Rift Herald and the Drake. Baron coming up. Notice that the Cloud Drake up at the top should be on Jinair's side, but the Mountain Drake for Kongdoo is not on Jinair's side. If they had that plus the Kalista, would have been even easier to try to go for a Baron.
Gonna get a counter roam now from Jinair entering the top side. No ability for Kongdoo Monster to start the Baron yet. Shyvana has a lot of threat onto Baron, but Ezreal's got an Iceborne Gauntlet. It's a tanky build from Edge. So at this present point in time, not the damage to burst it down in any reasonable fashion. See if we can see some vision control attention from Kongdoo Monster. Couple of control wards trying to protect their bot lane here. Their duo, who at the moment are trying to protect their inner turret. Cementing any vision around Baron is important as Edge take a huge burst.
Well, this is Kha'Zix. You're not going to get away from this, as he just does not see the Kha'Zix coming at him. Or if he did, it was a little bit too late. Even with the control ward, could not get away from that one.
Great stuff from being super aggressive in the enemy jungle, even though we knew there was plenty of vision on the side of Kongdoo Monster. They're going to turn into turret damage, at least a little bit.
Roach is coming from the side, was looking for a combo onto Umti. Gets that Raptor smited away. But yeah, taking out the Rise for this long is pretty nice for Jinair at this point.
There's no map control for Kongdoo Monster anymore. Ornn pushing into the inner turret. Rise getting picked, just walking into his blue side jungle. The blue side vision is gone. It's now red control wards. Really nice control vision around the Baron right now. 3 control wards in that area. Feels like Jinair, a Baron start and turn away from potentially icing this game. 6,000 plus gold lead at 22 minutes. That's a huge lead, really out of nowhere. Things were as close as could be around the Drake, but a perfect ace at 12 to 14 minutes into the game. This is the result.
You got to be feeling really good about this. I know that some power rankings have recently come up, and Jin Air was pretty high up, actually. A lot of people around the world are really looking at this team to be quite a strong one, especially on the backs of guys like Teddy, but you look at Sowon doing a little bit better across the board, Grace able to pick up the Zoe and have a star performance like this, and you begin to realize why people are looking at this team to be one of the big contenders.
And the timing is also relevant, Valdez, because coming off a 2-0 loss to BBQ, the manner of which, would have surprised many people. Weren't expected to lose to BBQ in that fashion, as Secret also tries face checking this brush. It's already been very costly for Rise. In that game, the aggressive moves weren't being pulled off. Teddy and Wraith were very controlled in lane. Very rarely, in that series, we never saw Teddy and Wraith actually get out of lane first and rotate. And the moment they've been able to hit the map, things have really hit high gear for the side of Jin Air GreenWings. So the priority of the Kalista over the Ezreal has been great for them.
Hide not on bush was the entire Jin Air team. Very interesting position there. But it was spotted out, nicely done by Secret to actually scout them. Also had the help of the blue trinket from Ezreal.
We've seen comps like this with the Kha'Zix attempt to rush Baron before and fail. But because Taric is here with permanent healing, they can start the Baron even without Orin, like you can see. We're waiting for the turn.
They got Blade of the Rune King as well. And they're going to back off of this one. Edge is, he's going in an interesting spot now. Can get a bit of damage onto Wraith, but Fate's Call is going to knock him up. Question is, did they go too far here? Edge, a little bit out of position. The Ornald is just going to zone for now. And it looks like Ray's in a terrible spot here, trying to turn it around on the Kha'Zix, but Sowon looking to clean up the kill, not going to be able to, as he does flash away. But a very interesting Realm Warp there, straight into the Baron pit.
He panicked, I think, the moment that he saw the members of Jin. They're going to turn back onto the Baron. Shyvana will not be here. Secret looking to interrupt.
It's going to be really rough. They don't have a smite. They don't have 5 members. It's really going to be impossible for them to steal, as the Baron does go over to Jin Air here. Roach and Soul just hopping over the wall. Jin Air just going to go away, having taken the objective.
The last pick Taric doing so much work. Because of this particular support pick, you can start the Baron with a Kha'Zix and have someone who can tank it with all the healing to keep everyone sustained up. And then Jin Air are happy to go super hard in this fight because they already had all the vision in the enemy blue side jungle. The turn was always going to be cemented around this area. Umti almost went down as Razor's burnout damage almost answered him. But after all is said and done, Jin Air pick up the Baron, continue to extend their lead. Amazingly, it's only 2 Drakes short of a perfect game by Jin Air GreenWings.
Yeah, it's funny to look at the top and see 0 kills, especially with how strong their early game was and the amount of objectives that Raze was able to get. When I say early game, I guess I'm talking about before they all got aced and died in a really tragic fight.
Yeah, the second Drake was at the cost of everyone's life on the side of Kongdoo Monster. And now there are queries, because while they have 4 damage dealers, even Shyvana would, the Blood Razor can be considered a damage dealer. Rise has gone so tanky in his build, you have to query whether they can stand up to the damage on the side of Jin Air. Jin Air rolling down. Teddy already has double lifesteal. He is basically a tank.
He's not going to be dying anytime soon, not with the support of his team. This is a very interesting idea, what Raze is doing. He gets the Mountain Drake, it's the second one. It opens up very fast objectives in the future for Kongdoo, but...
And good wave clear also in sieging scenarios like this. Jin Air's siege is mostly about a trouble bubble and a paddle star hitting. They have to be very respectful unless they can get a significant chunk on someone, and you'll notice that Gnar, going a laning build, isn't going to be pushed in on the bot side. So Jin Air not actually causing much map pressure with the Baron buff, at least for the first couple of minutes of it. So that's why it's smart for them to play multiple lanes. A team effort for the damage dealing on the side of Jin Air.
Yeah, okay, well, Empty in a bit of trouble here. Has to leap away. Doesn't really have an option. Super low. Here comes the Rise. That's going to be a nice pickup. Although Ornn does knock him up, the Paddle Star was very close to chunking down Edge. A nice little pick will give Kongdoo some more time.
Yeah, Raze definitely looks at the game differently to most junglers we see. Still sees opportunities where other teams would be a Shyvana under a turret, not being able to contribute anything by virtue of just being Shyvana in a siege scenario on the losing team. So third time he's got the drop on, third time they've got the Kha'Zix low, this time the Rise Realm Warp to ice in the kill. And that means the Baron buff is going to be largely useless. They will not be able to push any significant turrets with the Baron buff. It's going to probably have to be the next Baron buff for Jin Air to actually get all their lanes in order.
Yeah, they weren't able to get either of those Mountain Drakes, so we'll be kind of unhappy with that for sure. Very curious how Kongdoo gets themselves out of the hole now. They're 10,000 gold behind at a place like this. You know, it will take maybe getting caught 3 or 4 times for his team to tell him, like, hey, dude, stop getting caught. And then I think from there we're going to see some safer play out of And then how do you get picks on the side of Kongdoo? How do you come back in this game?
And I think that's the question that's great to raise, because at the end of the day, Raze got a really nice drop and pick onto the side of Jin Air, but that's not a reliable way to make that happen again. If they try a one-way Realm Warp, it could just end the game. If they're off on it, Jin Air have the poke and engage. Kongdoo Monster struggling in that regard a little bit. So with the kind of low initiation that Kongdoo have put together, don't think we're going to be seeing Alistar flash headbutt pulverize either. Threat onto Teddy especially looks almost impossible. He already has double overshield with overheal and also the Bloodthirster shield. Even has Last Whisper to make sure he's doing damage to the frontliners. Teddy is insanely big again, 350 minions at 29 minutes into the game.
I'm sure a lot of people were looking at Grace and saying, wow, this Zoe, you know, Z Omega Lol E, okay. You know, we've heard the memes before, but as you mentioned, it's definitely about Teddy as we get later in this game. We got coming from behind. Rhodes trying to run away. See if the Ornn ultimate actually hits. No, it does not. And we have a Realm Warp up into the top lane, and they lose a turret.
Yeah, they're trying to turn that one around. You know, they tried to be at the play early, but it was well read by Jin Air. They still have that deep vision. Some of that is control wards, some of that is zombie wards, but they knew of the impeding danger from the Rise. They backed away, no harm, no foul. And there is a turret after all for Jin Air, but certainly not the Baron buff power play they were looking for.
Yeah, and so we wait. We're sitting here 2 minutes to go until the next Baron. No doubt Jin Air will just be eyeing that one, trying to take as many turrets, get as much vision down before that.
We play the exact same game they did around the previous Baron. Walk in with vision, Teddy and Wraith, team players, 3 control wards each. Now actually 9 across the team as Zoe really needs a stopwatch. That does mean that they can push up, put down aggressive vision, control every bit of the river, and wait for a face check and for Grace to do the rest of the work. So the playbook here is being expertly followed. I think the coaching staff of Jin Air should be complimented. Comet jumping onto this lineup, I mean off the lineup onto a Freako you thought would really hurt Jin Air, but they're doing some good stuff here. Very level heads.
Yeah. So on, going over to farm the jungle for a bit, saves him from another one of those weird Raze ganks where he was down on the bottom side. Would have been nice to take him out right before Baron comes up, and then they would have had enough time to, you know, recall and then go towards the Baron before it spawns. So I call it weird, but that one made a lot of sense. Good for Soan, though, for him not to get caught.
Double control ward on the Baron. Even the warding positions that are pretty standard now to the left of the pit to try to dodge an optimally placed control ward will be spotted out with this control ward duo that we see on the mini-map. Also been able to put up control vision to the blue buff, so there's no ambiguity about what Jin Air wants. Obviously patrolling the bot side, trying to get a pick before that Baron spawns, but Baron's certainly on the menu for the side of Jin Air.
The slow push in. I got a couple of semi-tanks in Gnar, Shyvana, but the Alistar is really going to be at the front of this. Gnar just walking up right now. That Baron is going down so quickly. 4,000 health right now. In comes Secret and Raze looking for the steal. Can Raze actually do it? He's going to ultimate in. The damage is coming down and he gets it. Raze is going to get the Baron in here. He's not going to be able to survive, though, as Empty does take him out. The rest of Kongdoo Monster just trying to run away. We'll see how many people survive. But
he got him!
Disappears. That's going to be 3 kills in a trade for the Baron. You'd have to think that Jinner can still push after this.
Secret is such a monster. He headbutted the Kalista out of the pit so she couldn't Ren secure.
Oh, what?
That is how they managed to actually steal the Baron there. Jinner stays on it because not a 50-50. Kalista is supposed to secure it, but headbutting her out of the pit ruined the pre-arranged number they were going to smite at. They might still win the game anyway, but spare a thought for Secret. That was sick.
What a play. It's the reason why he's known for his Alistair. I'd love to get a look at the replay. I was looking at the Shyvana trying to come in for the smite, missed it, but
we've seen a car crash around Baron already today when MVP didn't pull off the Baron and it ended up being a 50-50. And I thought, okay, Jinner, why are you still on it? Have to remember that Ren secure means it's no longer a 50-50. We'll get the replay hopefully soon of the Baron from the interaction there, but it was all about interrupting the layering. Teams have a lot of practice in just dumping damage into Baron and then knowing a smite and Ren stack, Ren combination that they're confident will work. It's always going to be imprecise, but they'll have a number, say 2100 or something like that. That is what Secret was able to interrupt. That means Kongdoo Monster get the Baron. And again, still 10,000 gold behind, but the game does delay.
Yeah, Jinner, they were thinking about pushing in, but against the Baron buff minions, even 5v2, that would have been a rough play for them to make work. Would have been too risky, especially when they're this far ahead. And Kongdoo Monster, they've got a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel if they can hold on from here. 34 minutes into the game, I still feel like this game has a long time before it ends.
Yeah, if they can get into neutral territory where Shyvana can actually have threat on the back line. A lot of Shyvanas we've seen against champions like Malzahar and in general being gate-kept out of most fights, but once Cosmic Radiance is down, Shyvana can have a lot of team fight presence. The damage is still building for Edge, who went super tanky on the build. Only now going to start building up the Void Staff to actually have some threat of his own. Ezreal also severely outpaced in terms of damage items behind Teddy. So yes, around the base where they can use terrain to their advantage, there's definitely a chance for Kongdoo, but if the game doesn't stall out for another 15 minutes or so, the gold lead is still going to be the ultimate equalizer between these two teams.
Kongdoo just looking to hold on, to see if they can get to that late game themselves. Grace, meanwhile, he's got blue buff. He's got most likely 45% cooldown reduction at this point. He's just spamming everything, trying to push them into the base.
For now, Jinner just trying to rush down the Baron timer, get some poke in if they can. Another 20 seconds or so on the Baron. Damage numbers still very much a team effort between Grace, and Teddy.
Yeah. Surprised that can keep up that much, actually, on the Kha'Zix. He has gone full 100% damage.
The way.
Yeah. Got a last whisper of his own.
That was Raze, by the way, who took over half his health to one rotation. Now Edge.
Welcome to Zoe, guys. I'm sure you're well acquainted.
He messed that one up, actually.
Yeah. Teddy, meanwhile, you were talking about all the shields. With all of this poking and the constant need to go back to the fountain and heal up, he's just coming in bit by bit, poking away at that turret.
It may be flashy, but right now it hasn't actually had a lot of threat on the turret. Good wave clear. They need to actually get a pick.
Shouldn't be able to lock this one down, but you do force the Shyvana back in the lane.
4-1 doesn't work that well for Jinner. We mentioned it before, we'll mention it again. They already broke the base in the mid lane, but only now are they starting to get some super minions into the base as Ornn is pushed down. Bot lane, Nara is able to keep the minions, at least in a decent spot bot lane, so actually struggling here to move forward. That's why the Baron was so important for Jinner, and it being denied was so critical to Kongdoo, buying this time to scale.
Yeah. It's so much easier when you can take it one wave at a time and they're not buffed up by Baron. You've got a decent amount of wave clear with Ryze. Ezreal, he has his cooldown, or his ult cooldown up pretty frequently.
Teddy, 3,700 gold up, such as Teddy.
I think we had 2 or 3 elixirs bought.
We got some Ornn items built. You know how much I love those.
Oh, yeah.
A really, really sweet hat onto Grace.
Really, really sweet hat.
Yep.
I was going to call it the Mega Cap, but I like your idea, too.
I'm going to call it a Void Mask, not an Abyssal Mask, from good old
You're
Ornn.
just adding, like, random adjectives to the items at this point.
That's my thing. I'm never going to look them up. I'm going to ignore anyone that tells me the real one and come up with new names every time for the Ornn items. No upgrade yet for or Teddy for that matter.
We're sitting here playing the wave clear game. I feel like Jin Air has almost given up as they're not.
They can't do anything without Baron.
They're not getting near the turret. Oh, the one shot! Where'd he go?
Well, they can't do anything without Baron unless that happens, Valdez.
You caster cursed Kongdoo, man. They just lost their AD carry. Where'd he go?
He went away to the sweet hat. That's what he did. Goodbye. 750 AP, pretty strong apparently.
That's going to be a highlight on Reddit and wherever you have it, because that might have just ended the game. I mean, we have an inhibitor coming in. We'll see if they can actually end it here, but they should be able to get 3 inhibitors after a play like that. You miss your farmed AD carry with just 1 paddle star.
A lot of gameplay there.
Very interactive, I would have to say.
Cho'Gath sends his regards. And remember, he's not 6 items yet. There's more AP to come.
Yeah.
Still sitting on a stopwatch.
That's the thing, like, even if Soul had some way to counterplay, like, some magic resist, right? He's got a QSS, but that's not going to help him. It's even if they were on equal items, he would just have more attack damage, right? Maybe a scimitar, but that would not save him from the Zoe paddle star. Uh-oh. Oh, he's okay. Well, they're looking for a fight. Empty from behind. But Roach now kiting out this Ornn, trying to get that ultimate in. Did get Grace to the front, but did not stun him. He was able to flash away from there. Empty, though, getting low. Look at the damage coming out from Teddy on the top side. This should be the end of it. Double kill from Empty. Secret all alone. And they tried to make one last-ditch effort, but it seems like their morale is just totally gone, especially after that last paddle star. That's going to be the ace, brought to you by Grace and his good friend Zoe. We are going to see Jin Air winning game number 1 here, guys. I want to see the posts on Reddit, the highlights, right, about that 1 kill, because you said they couldn't do anything, but 1 kill onto the Ezreal was all it took. The 1 paddle star will give them the end to this game, probably 10-15 minutes earlier than they would have liked.
18-1 is the final kill score. Jin Air gets to skip so many steps when a single paddle star can just delete the life out of an AD carry. Grace had a really good game here, the first one to really make him perhaps the dominant, or at least the starting mid laner for future games, may even also retain his place for the next game. Jin Air played this one largely very well. It was a good interrupt there, headbutt onto their Kalista that stopped the secure on the second Baron, delayed out the game. We thought an inevitable third Baron until the paddle star from the heavens took out the AD carry from the side of Kongdoo Monster. That means that Kongdoo Monster now 1-0 down, and you have to say that largely Jin Air's plan of targeting Raze didn't work in the early game when it came to Drakes, but did work after that phase of the game because low initiation really counted against them.
Yeah, it really did. And when you get that far behind, not much that Secret can do. Even Roach trying to find an opportunity at the end with the Gnar almost knocked Grace into the wall. Perhaps if they could have one-shot the Zoe, they would have had some semblance of a chance. But even then, Teddy was alive and well, doing his job.
We don't get to see the one-shot just yet. We're going to watch the replay. I think Kongdoo Monster made the right call. They had nothing in their base. Multiple members, including Grace, were next to a wall. Grace had to flash cleanse out, but there's also a gold lead, and Teddy free farmed and fed to talk about. So even though the Zoe was one good news story, Teddy was also massively strong, flashing onto the Ezreal. Grace cleaned it up because he deserved to. Great game from him on the Zoe. The dual threat here was too strong for Kongdoo Monster.
Gonna get a nice little replay of the final fight would have liked to see the big paddle star, but we're going to take a look at some game facts. Like you said, it was even on the damage on the side of Jin Air up until the end, when Grace probably got 2,000 damage and 1 paddle star, really added to his numbers towards the end.
Yeah, they were all around 12,000, and then Grace had 21,000, which lets you know the paddle stars and the late game team fight from the Zoe can be just as disgusting as a mid lane fishing. Looking at the gold graph, tells a good story for Jin Air. You know, even with a Baron steal, the numbers were largely all flowing their way by the end, overwhelming 13,000 gold when that final fight started. Into the death chamber for Kongdoo Monster game 1. Gonna need a new plan because it feels like the knockups are not gonna be available in the draft.
You're talking about maybe banning out the Zoe, but the bans they went for is Zira, Kog'Maw, Sejuani. All top tier bans. It's gonna be hard to find some room, but either you have a better answer to the Zoe or you might just meet the same fate if you cannot ban her out. So guys, we are gonna take a quick commercial break, probably about 10-12 minutes. I'll be more realistic this time before game number 2.